Welcome to the fourth and last of the series, City Portraits, which is part of the University of Lyon's School of the Anthropocene that's been running the past week. The series is curated by Cedric Duro, and what it's entailed really is a series of these journeys over the last week to different parts of the world and to speak to people that are doing very interesting work in various cities in the world, just to learn about what their work is about and what is going on in the cities they're in at this time, since we all can't travel. We began with Zhofei Tang on Monday, Tuesday, this past week. And yesterday we had Tony Ton walk us through the meatpacking district in New York, as well as Omaid Sharifi, who had some very interesting things to share about Kabul. Today, this last fourth session, we have Babawale Obayanju, who is a photographer and human rights campaigner, environmental justice campaigner rather, based between Benin City and Lagos. Wale is very interesting because he's also a geologist by training, which I suppose partly explains why his work is about the environment, I suppose, expressed through his photographic and graphic design practice. Wale has worked for quite a while now with communities in the Niger Delta, which I think we'll all be familiar with because of some of the larger conflicts in that region between big multinational oil companies and communities that are the, I suppose, rightful owners of these lands. So it will be very interesting to hear from him regarding that. Wale, as I said, works primarily in photography, and he exhibits all over. So take a look at some of his work. We'll get to see a little bit of it. So Wale, welcome and thanks for taking the time.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you for having me here.
Hey.
Yeah. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you, Tal. Thank you, University of Lyon, for inviting me over to be able to share part of my experiences with everyone around the world.
Let's
so
run
to introduce,
that video.
do I have to introduce myself again? Okay, yes, fine. Please just do that for me now. Thank you. maybe I share my screen.
Yeah, we seem to be having some technical issues there. I think the video played without sound, but let's carry on anyway.
I share my screen now. Let's see. PowerPoint. Where you at? Yeah.
Okay, we are back with Babawale. Babawale, please, could you begin your presentation? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So welcome, everybody. My name is Babawale. Like I already introduced myself, I'll be speaking to us today on what I just called OCO, the vehicles of Lagos. The world we live in today, basically, we all know, is changing very, very fast and drastically. And this is happening because of the activities of man, ranging from the topics around globalization, urbanization, and climate change, urban migration, and the list goes on. So daily people, especially in my country, Nigeria, are leaving the rural communities, looking for greener pastures, in quotes, making people leave small communities, the people who actually take care of the country and take care of the people. They're looking for white-collar jobs, looking for more opportunities. This has led them to lands like Lagos, because Lagos is a city full of creativity and what have you. So these guys daily leave their bases and go to Lagos to look for greener pastures. So now, what's happening here? Okay, then basically, so this I can't really see the screen now, so I don't know where I am on the point. Okay, yes, Lagos, beautiful. So Lagos is a city that is bounded in the north, in the southwest. Is located in the southwestern part of Nigeria.
It's one of the smallest states in Nigeria. Nigeria is a state, is a country that has 36 states, and Lagos happens to be the smallest of the states of Nigeria. But that small city called Lagos is the business headquarters or the economic headquarters of Nigeria. Creativity, technology, the people are very smart, very entrepreneurial, and their skill set in Lagos is not to be compared with any part of Nigeria. In Lagos, there are several opportunities available to people. So people find their way somehow, some way to Lagos. This is making Lagos really crowded. This is making Lagos life really difficult and making commuting in Lagos a very difficult thing to daily encounter or go through. So people, as they migrate into Lagos, looking for greener pastures, they struggle for the land space to get accommodation. They struggle for how to get ends to meet, as we say it. So Lagos is a place that everybody wants to go to, and the world has recognized it as one of the cities, the fastest growing cities of the world. And it's even been said that Lagos is the 5th largest economy, if it were to be a country, in Africa. That is something to reckon with. And with all these figures going on the TV screen, going on the newspaper, people want to go to Lagos and explore the opportunities in Lagos. So now we're talking about Lagos. The landmass, just to give you an idea of the landmass, is about 3,577 kilometers square. It's bounded to the north by Ogun State. Ogun State and Lagos is very hard to demarcate them because they are very close to each other and they do very many economic activities together. And people who are trooping into Lagos because of the situation of Lagos, some of them have decided to live in Ogun State, which is just a stone throw from Lagos. But because of the little road networks we have in Lagos, commuting from Ogun State to your business place in Lagos could take you hours. So today I'll be looking at the transportation system as a means to understand the resilience of the people of Lagos. The people in Lagos daily have to commute from their homes. Some who work on the mainland, on the island, who live on the mainland, have to commute from that place, from the mainland to the island on a daily basis. A journey which should take about 10, 20 minutes, many times ends up taking 3, 4, 5 hours, depending on your luck on that day. So I'll be looking at the transportation system as a means to define or show the resilience of the people of Lagos. Lagos also demands or puts Nigeria on the map of contributors to greenhouse gases as the place where 50% of the amount of greenhouse gases released in Nigeria dwells. 40% of the national petroleum consumption happens in Lagos because you have a place crowded with people. Lagos has a population as we speak, is a conflicting one. Some are saying 22 million, some are saying 20 million, some are saying 14 million, some are saying 15 million. But the range of the population of Lagos stays between 15 million and 22 million people. When Lagos was first formed in 1958, it was just having about 325,000 people. But as we speak today, Lagos houses over 20 million people as the figures we have it online. So how resilient indeed are the people of Lagos? Lagosians, like I earlier said, are people, I don't know how to describe them, how would best words to use to describe the people of Lagos. These are people who are truly creative, who are truly technically skilled, who are truly opportunists. They take every opportunity they find, utilize it, and make the best of it for their growth, for the economy of the country, for the economy of the state, and for their personal lives. So let's look at one of the indices to define the quality of life, to define how resilient a people can be That is a transportation system. Mobility, as we know, is one of the key factors that defines the quality of life. So today I want to show us how Lagosians have changed the process of transportation from one generation, from one decade to another. So I'll be giving us a rundown. I made pictures with the help of a collective I work with. I have friends who do awesome work. We all do awesome work, photography-wise, video-wise, around cities in Nigeria. So we connected and we decided to go out and document the transport system of Nigeria, of Lagos in particular. This is a beautiful Lagos. This is around Idumota, Lagos, where we call Eko. So within Lagos State, to give us a picture, there is a city called Lagos, or Eko in the language of the Yorubas. This place, this picture you can find here, shows us some of the looks or the way Lagos looks, the business space around Lagos, what it looks like. This is Idumota, Lagos, where they sell from children clothes, adult clothes, to food stuff, to name it, whatever, what have you. This is a business hub. Anything you are virtually looking for, you can find in this space. So people commute from the mainland to the island over bridges, because Lagos houses one of the longest bridges in Africa, the third mainland bridge. This bridge is connected to the third mainland bridge. This is Kata Bridge. So this picture was made around Idumota, around Kata Bridge area. So you can see the lineup of the buses. So let's look at how this transport system, the public transport system, has functioned from the 1950s to date. Earlier in the 1950s, the bus that functioned was called Bole Kaja. That is, come down, let us fight. I didn't get to see that bus because I was quite young, very young at that time. But from the books I read and the pictures I saw, it was more like a truck that we can use to go pick up goods from the farm to the city. But the creativity of the people of Lagos converted that truck into a vehicle that could move people from one place to the other, and also move their goods and service from one place to the other. So, so that is basically what I'll be talking about and sharing today. So the picture I'm going to show us right now is going to show us the transition that I saw, the one I witnessed, the one I have seen from Molwe, the big Mercedes-Benz 911 trucks, to the ones we call Danfo, the Volkswagen Vanagon, or the one the South Africans call Kombi, now to the present day tricycles, motorcycles, and the smaller buses they now call Korope, made by Suzuki. All of this has happened because the road network in Lagos is getting cramped by the day. One of the definitions of the city of Lagos is traffic. Many times when I go to Lagos to do business, to document stories, one of the things I dread the most in Lagos is traffic. A journey that could take you 20 minutes, if you are unlucky that day, you could spend 5 hours, 10 hours. People who use the flight, for example, one part of Nigeria into Lagos, can use the flight to get to Lagos in 30 minutes, but from the airport to their location could take them 3 hours. That's just to give you a mental picture of the situation in Lagos. So on a daily basis, about 8 million people move around in over 5 million vehicles from one location to the other on the 1,900 road networks that we have in Lagos. So imagine that amount of people, amount of vehicles having to move up and down. So this has led the people of Lagos to move from the biggest buses to smaller buses that could maneuver through the tight or congested road networks that we have. So let's go on this journey together. This is a picture that just gives us an idea of the transport situation in Lagos. In 2008, the government decided to look at the existing transport system in Lagos, which has been run by private people, private individuals since 1958 until 2008, when the government decided to take action and begin to look at the situation critically. So the blue bus you're seeing there and the red bus you are seeing there are buses that have been introduced by the government to ease the plight of Lagosians. You can see the bike rider in front of him, the motorbike rider. This is just a picture of the situation in Lagos. So now, this chart shows us the transition that we have experienced since 1950s till today. The first one, like I said, is Bolekaja, or I can't remember the product of the vehicle now, but because I wasn't born to see it. Then we moved to the Molwe, which I saw. It was a Mercedes-Benz 911 truck that has been converted into a bus that now takes people from one part of Lagos to another. So I'm going to be showing us some pictures so that we have a mental idea of what these buses look like. This was taken by a lady called Eunice. I saw it online on the internet. This is not my picture. It's a picture from the source I saw it. Her name is Eunice. This is the idea of the bus called Bolekaja. So you can imagine how creative these guys are to have decided to turn this truck into a bus that will move people from a place to another. But this bus, from what I was told, runs on a manual process. It's like what we call push and start in Africa or in Nigeria. They said that the first one that came, they had to turn the engine, to spin the engine up before the vehicle will start. And it smokes a lot, releases an enormous amount of CO2 into the atmosphere, and it was pretty slow. So this had to go off the system. And the next one that came on board, because of the ingenuity of the people, was this one called Molwe, the 911 truck converted into a bus. Many of these trucks are no longer in production, to the best of my knowledge. But the people of Lagos have found a way to make these trucks work and suit them. But the government of Lagos have decided that these trucks are defacing the state, they are polluting the environment, and they are not safe for humans to use them. So before I saw this picture, I waited for close to 2-3 hours to find one of these buses come. They are already going out of the system. The next one that took over is shown here. This just shows us the 3 kinds of buses that we have right now, currently in Lagos, run by private people. To my left is one they call Carúpano, the small buses now taking over from Danfo. Excuse me. These ones take between 7 and 8 passengers on a trip. And they're not allowed to operate on the highway over the long bridges of Lagos. They operate in the inner cities of Lagos, from my observation, from my research, and from my study. The one to my right is called, the right of my screen where the door is open, that is a Danfo, the Volkswagen Vanagon or the Volkswagen Kombi. These ones take about 15, 13 passengers when it's fully loaded from one point to the other. And the one behind them is a tricycle called Keke Marwa, introduced by one of the governors of Lagos, who brought this up to alleviate the plight of the Lagosians, to elevate them from poverty, give them means of livelihood, and also help to reduce the stress of commuting. So that picture shows you in one look the kind of buses that the private people have been running over time. So this is just a busy, this place is called Oshodi. I remember the first time I visited this place in late 80s and early 90s. My friend who we went together on that day told me, guys, you're working on this place, hold your pockets. This place was really a mess. There were a lot of touts and everything, but the government of Lagos decided to take it upon themselves to revamp this place called Oshodi. Today, they have made sanity to return to that space. They have created new railway tracks that were built in 2018. That's the one you can see to my right. They've created new central parks for these vehicles to go in and park, but many of them are still disobedient to the government. But they've tried their best to make this place safe and sane to the best they can at this time. So the picture you are seeing here just shows you that in the midst of lack of space, in the midst of the hustle and bustle, Lagosians have found ways to survive. They found ways to adapt to the pressure and the stress that they are daily faced with. You can see people trading on that track. By 4:35, a train returns via that track and everybody will have to disperse. But at this time, you can see traders trading on that rail track, which is very unsafe. So basically, why the government decided to take it upon themselves to address the issue of transportation is because one of these privately owned vehicles, many of them are really old. Many of them are not safe for usage. The interior of the vehicles, if you wear a brand new Gucci shirt or trouser and enter the vehicle, there's a possibility that when you highlight from the bus, you're going to have a tear on your trouser or on your shirt. That is how rickety some of these buses are. And for the picture and the dream of Lagos that the government of Lagos have to make it a world-renowned city, these kind of buses cannot be left in the system. Also, these buses, like we know, release enormous amount of CO2 because they are really old, produced with old technology. Because newer technology and newer vehicles these days have reduced CO2 emission rates, but these ones are quite old. Many of them are not taken proper care of, so they release enormous amount of CO2. They burn diesel, they burn petrol, and release these gases into the atmosphere, causing and fueling climate change. Many of these buses are either bought as second-hand, third-hands. Some of them are junkyard retrievals. People go there and pick them, reassemble them. And one thing I also discovered in the process of doing this documentation and in my research and my study, many of the drivers who drive these buses were former mechanics who fixes this kind of bus. But because they are running out of market, some of them have decided to become drivers. So they drive this vehicle with the mind, I'm a mechanic, I can fix it. So you can imagine the kind of stress. You can be going on a journey, and the next the vehicle breaks down, the guy comes up from the stair and tells you, I can fix it. A problem that should have been fixed long before they commute people from one place to the other. So in light of this, the Lagos state government decided to look into the situation and find a way to address it. What did they do? Okay, this is just a picture of what the bus looks like on the interior. You can see by yourself. Not safe at all. Not good for the eyes, but people have to use it because it's what they have at hand. So the government of Lagos decided to introduce what they call the Lagos BRT, the Bus Rapid Transit, taking clue from cities like Canada, to bring buses that are more humanly conducive, more safe for people, and gives you a form of pride, should I say, or makes you more human than the other buses used to make people feel. Because in the other buses, you are cramped in buses. These drivers, many of them are very reckless. They don't even respect traffic laws. They don't respect the authorities on the road. Many of them are very, very rough. So by these newer buses, the government decided to build infrastructure that will take care of that system. They created new bus parks. They created new terminals. They created separate road tracks, excuse me, for these buses. So the issue of you getting late to your destination was reduced, and the plight of the people has been helped. But so far, because of the cost implication, the government have not been able to move at the speed that they wish to move. But we are hoping that in coming weeks, coming months, coming days, they'll be able to invest more into this bus system and help reduce the amount of vehicles we have on the road. These buses, from the research, from the research we made about them, they have reduced the emission rate of Lagos by 20%, by 13%. So these buses are clean, due to new technology, more recent buses, safe for the people. They obey traffic rules. They are run by educated people. They are run by people who have skills. They are run by people who have dignity of labor, who have pride, or who pride themselves to take care of people in Lagos. So this is just one of the contributions of Lagos. This other side of this picture you're seeing behind here is Oshodi. The government has decided to make it look and feel more humanly, made it feel more homely, and made people feel dignity for themselves to be called Lagosians. It has changed the face of Oshodi, making it more safe, making it more secure, and making it more beautiful for the mega city that they planned for. But in this plight of Lagos, before I round up my session, the government, in their quest to build a mega city called Lagos, are not without their faults. The island, which I didn't just go there to make the pictures, the disparity between island and mainland is like the sparse between heaven and earth. The difference is very, very wide. And that's the kind of city that Lagos hopes to become. But as they are planning this, many of the people who have left rural communities to Lagos to look for opportunities and have settled in small, some of them live on water, like the fishing community called Makoko. Some of them live by the sides of the water. Different places, many of them have been displaced. The government have displaced them and have not put them in places or conditions that would help them live the life that they dreamt of living in Lagos. There's a story on our website, Tell That Story, that one of our contributors did, Amorego Sapolo. It talks about the people of Ota Agbabe who have been displaced illegally and no compensation. So while they are thinking of developing into a mega city, some of these rural people have been displaced without proper relocation. And this to us is calling us or calling for concern and calling for attention. That while they are planning, they should plan with these people in mind. You can't just displace people, these mega cities, that people who the real Lagosians can't afford to live in there, those kind of houses they are building. So the Lagos State government, in as much as they are doing excellent work, they also need to put the people in front in their plight to make Lagos great. So Lagos is going to develop more. More people are going to come into Lagos. It is high time private individuals, the government, every one of us put hands together and ensure that the people of Lagos truly have a decent life in their stay in Lagos, commuting from one place to the other. So I'll stop at this point and let questions come in so we can talk about it further. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Wale. That was great. Thank you. Yeah, interesting that you focus on traffic, on transport is a way of, I suppose, getting into these larger issues that you hinted. I wondered though, what is the cost of transport in these sort of like different modes that you showed us? Is it how expensive is it to say use the Danfo versus using the BRT system?
Yeah, the Danfo buses are not as expensive. The Molwe buses are not as expensive as the Danfo buses. One, because many people don't want to use the Molwes anymore because they are not as fast. They cannot maneuver through the traffic situation. So, but those, they use the price to lure people to come. I think it's about from a journey of about 5-10 kilometers, they take about 100, 200 naira, 250 naira. That is around $1 thereabout. But the BRT buses, which are more comfortable, you have opportunities to plan. Like the Danfo, you could get to the park in the morning, for example. You entered the bus yesterday for 200 naira. But you get to the bus park this morning, maybe it rained. They can just increase the fare from 200 naira to 500 naira without any prior notice. Or for example, the amount of people who come out that morning to commute are more. They can increase their prices without any prior notice. But for the BRT, they have a fixed price for particular journeys, particular kilometer coverage. And you have the opportunity to buy tickets. You could buy tickets for a week. You could buy tickets for a month. This gives room for planning. And it gives us opportunity to budget properly and account for our spendings. So I think that the bus fares in BRT ranges between 150, 200, 300 naira, thereabout. It doesn't go beyond that. And you are sure whenever you get to the bus park, it's the same price you're going to get. If there's going to be any increment, the government makes the announcement before the time. So you understand the system right now?
Yeah. Okay. I was looking at something, the Lagos Resilience Strategy that was released last year. It was very interesting because the goal number one, is to develop a robust, multimodal and integrated transportation system. So obviously, I suppose there's some kind of intentionality from the government to try to do something about the transport system. And you spoke now about the BRT system. Looking at that same document, interestingly, it seems like the BRT system you mentioned barely covers 1% of the requirement. I think the figures were something like 40% of people walk, 11% are in cars. Yeah. 45% are in the informal minibuses you showed, and something like under 0.5% are using the BRT. So, given that is the situation and the massive sort of size of the city, is there any possibility then that you can never have the informal system? Because it just seems like a pretty insane task to.
For me, I honestly believe the BRT system alone cannot cater for Lagos. These informal guys, we have the government, the private people, individuals have to collectively think about how to make sure these guys are regulated. They cannot be off. Because now they have more than close to 1 million, if I'm not missing it. I don't know the exact figure, but I know there are over 100,000 of those buses. I'm just trying to be moderate. What happens to these guys if BRT takes over? What happens to their livelihood? What becomes of them? So these are some of the things that the government needs to look at. Some of the drivers I talked to while documenting this stuff were motorway drivers before. But now they had to learn how to ride the smaller buses, the Volkswagen buses. And some now are riding on the smaller combi buses, the Suzuki small buses and the tricycles. There is no way, truly, right now to speak, the BRT they have functioning at about 260. From their website of Lagos State Government, they're about 260. Compared to 100,000 buses. You can see the disparity. There is no way. So what I think the government should be looking at, which they already, I think they are doing, they are trying to encourage people to use the waterways, to use more of the trains. But even the train system, the trains that exist, they are like the kind of trains you find in Mumbai, where people sit on the roof of the trains, and the frequency of the train system is not even what you can count or bank on. So there's no way people won't depend on this downfall. And now with the influx of Uber and other kinds of Uber-like taxi systems, we are getting more cars. More cars are coming into Lagos, more traffic situation, more CO2 emission. So it's time we all start thinking about this holistically. We ought to start thinking about this holistically. So there's no way the government is going to depend on BRT. They are trying to do the train, the ferry, but we need to do more work and do it more intentionally and faster than we are doing it currently.
I've got a few questions coming in from the audience. The one I'm not sure if it's something that you are in a position to answer, but it's regarding Eco Atlantic. if you know anything about the Eco-Atlantic project, there's a question here about why it's been delayed. But also, I suppose, a far more urgent sort of question is about the pandemic in these lockdowns, what that has been like in Lagos. And just adding on to that question, it's been very interesting to read about how, because of the lockdowns, a lot of cities, the amount of emissions has declined quite sharply. Could this have happened? Maybe some kind of relief if the buses aren't running as they typically do?
Yeah, during the height of the first wave of the COVID-19, Lagos was shut down. Buses, people could not move. Most of them were asked to work from home. Many of the companies had to work from home. So these buses really did not move as much as they used to move. So the emission was capped. But immediately the lockdown was lifted, it was like, now it's time to gain all the money we've lost. So they came back to street, more vigorous, more aggressive, to make their money as fast as they could. So the pandemic has its good side, because one, and I think it's also, it's a call, it's a big chain. Humans we have done past many of our boundaries. And one of the ways that nature reacts is if you do some stuff beyond the natural system that nature has created, it will react. And I personally feel, this is my personal opinion, not scientifically based, not scientifically proven, just my thinking, that COVID-19 could be a kickback by nature to say, guys, halt it. Since your law, you've tried to make laws to reduce the CO2 emissions, you've tried to make commitments to make CO2, you guys have refused, let this come. And I think that lockdown season, many of the forests revived, many of our waters revived, many of the systems around us revived. But now, because this lockdown has been lifted, we are going back and we're trying to do times 2 of what we couldn't do during that 3 months, 6 months lockdown period. So it's high time we begin to look at all of this seriously, holistically. Because if we want a world where we can live in as humans, we also need to think about how we take care of nature. And getting in more buses, getting in more cars is going to cause more damage for us. And many of the other thing that someone talked about Eco-Atlantic, as beautiful as that project might sound, there's a beach I knew when I was going on, they call it Bar Beach. It's been sand-filled, completely sand-filled, and houses built on it. I was watching the first portrait of cities from Asia that they did. And the picture the lady was trying to paint of the future, where waters will return back to the city. My worry is the future of Lagos will be a future where you find concrete across Lagos and most of the waters gone. Because you're thinking about building an Eco-Atlantic or the Atlantic city or the mega city. But we're only looking at the financial gains. We're not taking full consideration, to the best of my knowledge, about the environmental situation this is going to cause. So beyond just making Lagos a beautiful place, in quotes, we also need to think about the people. And the other issue is development. The quote and unquote development that we are trying to attain. Is it a development meant for us as Nigerians, as Africans? Or is it a development we are trying to model after a city that does not have the same kind of situation that we have? Who defines that development and what makes us go in that direction? These are some of the critical things that we need to think about when we are thinking about solutions for the people of different states and different cities. So let me stop there for now.
So it's interesting you brought in something about the Guangzhou conversation from a few days ago, because it's a kind of, I suppose, the proposition is to try to reclaim these waterways. I just wanted to mention that I've seen some actually quite interesting work that seems to be coming out of Lagos, particularly trying to do that. I don't know if you have come across that Makoko project that is sort of like what's his name? The architect and NLE. The floating school, the work that Kunle Ademi has done. So I suppose there might well be this sort of like movement to try to, on some level, on some way. But I guess this is like a very kind of like system level change that's necessary. So I've got an interesting question from somebody in the audience. What 3 words do you think best describe Lagos? If you were to sort of like give us 3 words that describe the city, what would those be?
Creative hub, traffic city, land of opportunity.
Let's speak about the creativity a little bit and focus a little bit more on your work as a photographer and your work with Tell That Story. Could you say a little bit about Tell That Story, but also maybe get into a little bit about why you, being a geologist, are now working as a photographer, but still, I suppose, working within sort of like a broader sort of like field or set of questions that still bring you back to, I guess, so tell us a little bit about that.
Tell That Story is a collective. We started about three years ago. We realized Nigerian photographers, very creative guys. Many of us are into events, documentation, parties, weddings, birthdays, and all the likes. But only a few, not so many of us, have taken the issue of documenting our day-to-day activity, our history, because a people who don't have history are bound to do anything. They are bound to go any direction. I just talked about the issue of development. Who defines what? If you don't know the history of a place, you cannot say for sure what kind of development or where you're going to be developing towards, or where you're developing from. So you can't even say I'm making progress or I'm not making progress, or I'm retrogressing or I'm progressing. So Tell That Story is a collective. We created to see how we can empower and support one another to document our history as Nigerians, to document our issues as Nigerians, and possibly find out solutions to this problem. Highlight them for people to see. We just finished a project late last year, beginning of last year, to highlight the work of small-scale farmers. Who truly, smallholder farmers, are the people who feed us, not the so-called big. These small-scale farmers truly are the ones who feed us. But the system, the people we're trying to copy, don't always show this part. They want to say the mechanized, the big ones. So Tell That Story is a platform that supports photographers, scriptwriters, videographers to document the people of Nigeria, to document the people of Africa. And we've even got stories from Asia, we've got stories from Australia. So it's a collective that supports that kind of work. Talking about the creativity in Lagos, Lagos has one of the hubs of the creative photographers, creative videographers, scriptwriters in Nigeria, if not Africa. Let me not exaggerate. The creative guys in the creative, like when I'm stuck in my, because Lagos is my second home. It's a place, when I'm stuck, as in I can't move forward in my brain. I just take a ride, I go to Lagos. I might not even talk to anybody. I might not even visit anybody. But entering the city of Lagos is a city where it's either I succeed or I succeed. That's the mindset of the people in Lagos. So people are very creative, using the little they have, making the best of the opportunities they have, creating a better space, a better world for themselves. So Lagos is a place where you can't be in and be laid back. You can't be in Lagos and not be creative. You can't be in Lagos and not put out your genuinity. You cannot be in Lagos and not utilize opportunity and not see opportunities. It's not a place for the lazy people. It's not a place for the laid back people. It's a place where you must do all you can to make it. So that's how I describe Lagos. So it's a space I have a lot of friends there in Lagos doing excellent work. And I mean excellent work. They're doing excellent work. Telling the story of Lagos, telling the story of Nigeria as a whole. So I think I should.
I wanted to I wanted to know, like, why photography? Why sort of deal with these environmental issues with photography as the medium? And who is your target when you do a photographic project like the one you mentioned? Who is the sort of like intended consumer of the project?
Yeah, so thank you. I think that one, for why photography? Photography for us and for me is a tool of expression. There's a saying that a picture could tell 1,000 stories. And truly, people who have seen these videos, even if they've not been to Lagos and they don't have an idea of what Lagos was like, seeing this vehicle gives you an idea of a transport situation in Lagos. So photography for me is a tool that helps me communicate the issues I have in my heart, what I have seen, what I have heard. It helps me communicate that easily to people. I've been able to do environmental justice campaign around several issues. And one of them is the issue around the Niger Delta situation. We've seen the bad side of it, the pollution, the oil spill. But these people in Niger Delta, regardless of the stress they have gone through, are still people who have found a way to survive and are surviving real good. But their stories are not being told the way they should. So that has led me personally to dig deeper and find a way to communicate the strength of these people and highlight it to the world. And also in doing that, you have to show the comparison, what they are going through, how they are surviving, and what could be done to make life better. So photography for me is a tool to do that. And for environmental justice issues, it seems so far-fetched. Talking about climate change, some people, like one guy that I know that says that hoax is not real, he's no longer in government, you know what I'm talking about, the guy from the US. So some people it's not real, some people it's real. But photography helps us, like we did also a project 2 years ago, to show that droughts, like we say, or desertification, is not just in words. You can see it. So photography helps us to show the world that this is what is happening here, and this is how it could be solved, or this is how it could be enhanced, or this is how it could be made better. Like the project of the farmers is to show the government, because the government of Nigeria, for example, in the past administration signed into law the biosafety bill that allows for genetically modified food to be introduced into our food system. Whereas the farmers in Nigeria, for example, have good skills without any formal kind of training, how to maintain our indigenous seeds. But because this government have signed in that law to allow GM seeds to enter the country, now we're not even sure if our indigenous seeds are being preserved, because they take the seeds with their messages to the villages, to these rural farmers, and because they're not schooled, anything goes. So the safety of our food is in danger. But we also wanted to highlight that these guys are doing work using agroecology means to preserve our food and give us healthy food, but they are not being supported enough. So that project was made so that the government can see the strength of these guys and give them the needed support that they require, not importing foreign kind of technology that wouldn't, in quotes, make the yields better. So things like this, that is part of why that was done. And I believe and I'm hoping that it gets to the place where they can see it, hear it, and really help these guys to produce the best that they can using the tools that they have and trying to make life easier and better for them and producing food for the world.
Oh, great. Yeah, let's end where we started. That's Lagos, with a final question from an audience member. What would be for you the ideal Lagos, both for yourself and for all its inhabitants? What's
ideal,
what do you think of that? Yeah. What is your ideal Lagos?
The ideal Lagos is a place where everyone in their humanity is respected as a human, where everyone is treated equally, regardless of where you are based in Lagos or where you are positioned in the system of Lagos. When I talk about system, economic-wise, political-wise, whether you are rich or you are poor, you are respected for who you are as an individual in Lagos. Let me digress one bit before I rush. The Makoko project you talked about is under the attack, I should call it right now. We could lose Makoko in any time. The government has plans to take Makoko as part of the eco development or development of Lagos. So we could lose that city called Makoko and the indigenous people of Makoko, because just a few months ago, a community called Monkey Village was demolished without prior consent, without formal information. Many of them are still living outside for the past weeks. So this could happen because people are not respected for who they are. They're not taken as part of Lagos. Lagos is not meant for some set. It's meant for everyone. As we always say, Lagos is no man's land, because in Lagos you find the Hausas, the guys from the north, the guys from the southwest, southeast. Everybody from Nigeria is in Lagos. So we should be respected for who we are as humans, and respected regardless of the culture or tribe or whatever. Be respected for who we are and support that system called Lagos, not developing in that sense. I think I should stop there.
Thank you. That was great. That's a good way to end. Thank you so much. I'm just going to say to anybody listening, check out tellthatstory.com.ng. You'll see a bunch more of Wale's work together with his crew, his colleagues. And thank you for the work you just showed us, and keep doing what you're doing, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To everybody, this is Sayonara. Thank you. This is the last of number 4 of 4. So all done. Thanks to the University of Lyon. Thanks to Cedric, and thanks to also everybody else that's a technical team that's made this possible. So other events continue, and stay tuned. Thank you very much. Out.
Thank you, guys. Namaste. Thank you.